We want to go to Ross chapter 18.4. So on page 139, we're introduced to Haya plus the WCIs and the WCP forms. Now, Haya is the verb that means to be, Haya. Now, that may sound sort of funny to you because up until this point, what have we learned about Hebrew? When we want to say that somebody is something, you don't use the verb to be, right? But there actually is a form of to be that can be used in the perfect and the imperfect, the WCI and the WCP form, for when you want to say that somebody was something or will be something, okay? So there is a form, but in the present tense, Hebrew will drop the form to be. Now, here in the lesson, what we're going to find out is that the forms Haya can occur in the WCI form and in the WCP form, and they'll be used for setting up future tense actions or past tense actions in terms of a time frame. So take a look here under point number 1, and I have the form Vayhi here. Do you see the Vav with the Pathak under it? Okay, this is the WCI pointing of the Vav. Normally, there would be a doubling dot in the Yod because this is a WCI 3MS form here. Okay, so these are my two root letters. Root 3 is missing. Haya was what we call an irregular verb. It's a weak verb. So there's some peculiarities of it that we're really not going to learn until we get later in the textbook. But this is such a common form that Ross felt like he could go ahead and introduce this to you. So what I have is a va with the prefix yod for the 3MS, and then the WCI form of Haya here, which is irregular. And it's signaling, because it's a WCI, past time. And it's going to be used in context like this. I'm going to see a sentence where I have Vayhi at the front, WCI of Haya, plus a prepositional phrase following it, and that will usually be indicating a temporal idea, when something happened on that day or at that hour. And then I'll have another clause that starts with a WCI form of a different verb. Vav, pathak, and then a doubling dot inside the prefix consonant. Okay? And when I do that, I'm going to translate it a particular way. Here's how the Old King James Version would translate things like that. The Old King James Version would translate this initial Vayhi plus a prepositional phrase as, it came to pass on the following day, he went to Saul of Tarsus, or whatever, okay? Or, and it was on the following day, he went to the city. You don't really have to translate the Vayhi here with it came to pass or and it was. What this is doing is it's structuring the narrative in a way to tell you, I'm setting up the time frame here as past tense. This Vayhi, all it's doing is giving you a WCI form as a way of indicating past time. What you'll want to do is translate the prepositional phrase and then translate the WCI form as a past tense form. So let's look at an example from the textbook here. Okay. Here is what I think this is this the one that he gives? Yeah, this is the one that he gives in his book. So I have Vayhi Baboker. See, there's Vayhi. That's a past time form, right? So this is indicating past tense. I'm going to translate the prepositional phrase first, though. What is Baboker? In the morning. But whatever that morning is, it is past tense. In the morning, past time, what happened? Then the next clause begins with a WCI form, which is what time frame? It's also past. So you're going to translate it as past. In the morning, Vayishmor, what's Shamar mean? to guard, or to protect, or to keep. Va yishmor, WCIs are past time, and the yod tells me who did it. Who did this? He did it. Okay, so I'm going to translate this as, in the morning, past time, he kept. Do not translate the vav on this. It won't make very good sense in English, right? In the morning and he kept is not good English. Just translate this as, in the morning he kept. King James Version would have said something like, and it came to pass in the morning he kept. Okay, you don't have to do that. Don't translate the vayhi. Just recognize it's signaling past tense. It's structuring the narrative and giving you a temporal context for which the next verb happens. Okay? Now, if we go down a little further for part 2 of this little section, what Ross is telling us is that the WCP form of haya can be used to do the same thing for setting up the time frame not as past, but as future. And so what we're going to see is haya. This is the normal vav attached to what looks like the perfect 3ms form of haya. Okay? That is a WCP 3ms in the cow of haya. And this is just setting up a non-past or future context. So I'll have the same sort of situation. Instead of vayhi, past time, I'll have haya, future time, some prepositional phrase following, then a WCP form of an actual verb telling me what will happen in that time frame. Okay? So let's look at an example here. And this is actually going to reflect exactly what we just saw a little while ago. V'haya v'boker. Old King James, and it will come to pass in the morning, v'shamar. WCP 3ms form of shamar. How would we translate this? In the morning, future time, what will happen? He will guard or keep. Okay? Again, don't translate the vav here. Just give the time frame its future orientation based on the v'haya at the beginning. But don't translate that. In the morning, future, he will keep. He will keep Torah, or he will guard the prisoner, or some such thing. Okay? We'll have a couple of examples of this in the homework, so we'll look at those as we cover that.